Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2025-2026 Board of Aldermen Budget Deliberations. Today is Monday, April 21st, 2025, and we are continuing with the department presentations portion of the 2025-2026 automatic budget process. Will everyone please stand up and join me as we pledge allegiance and salute our flag, and also remain standing for a moment of silence for the passing of our Pope Francis. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Archiola.
Present.
Alderman Beatty.
Alderman Beatty would like to be excused. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Alderman Bevan.
Here.
Alderman Casey.
Alderman Casey is out of state, on vacation.
Alderman Federico.
Here.
Alderman Fowler.
Here.
Alderman Keeley. Alderman Jenkins.
Here.
Alderman Marlowe.
Here.
Alderman Mulrennan.
Here.
Alderman Picelli.
Alderman Baselli would also like to be excused, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Alderman Smith. Alderman Vitro.
Here.
Alderman Vitale. Alderman Willis.
Here.
11 are present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Is there a motion to come out of recess?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to come out of recess. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are out of recess. Before introducing our first department presenter, I have a statement to make. This evening, Monday, April 21st, 2025, I wish to formally address the conduct that occurred during our budget meeting with the Board of Education on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. During this meeting, Alderman Wynn Smith engaged in behavior toward Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Anna Kutaya, that falls well below the standards of professionalism and respect we maintain as representatives of the people of Milford. Such conduct, as witnessed on April 16th, undermines the relationship between our municipal departments that is essential to effectively serve our community. It damages public trust in our proceedings and creates a hostile environment that impedes productive dialogue. We cannot and will not allow the attacking, bullying, or intimidating of anyone testifying before us. Therefore, as chairman of the Board of Aldermen, I hereby formally issue this reprimand of Alderman Smith for conduct unbecoming of an alderman, and remind all members that the people of Milford expect better from us. We will treat all individuals appearing before us with courtesy and respect. Our conduct reflects not only on ourselves, but on the institution we represent and the community we serve. On behalf of the board, I extend our sincere apologies to Dr. Kutaya for this regrettable incident. The Board of Aldermen remains committed to working with the Board of Education and the superintendent to serve the educational needs of Milford students and families and uphold the standards of decorum that our community expects from us. Respectfully submitted, Philip Vitro, Chairman of the Milford Board of Aldermen. Our first department presentation this evening.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a statement?
No, you can't. We're moving on to the department on the agenda is the Human Services. Page 41, Tanya Barnes. Good evening, Tanya.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tanya Barnes, the Human Resources Director with the city here. Essentially, my budget is flat. I've asked for a total increase of $2,500. That's in 3 specific lines. Under professional services, we increased that line by $1,200, which is to account for our new employee assistance program, our EAP program for our employees that provides visits with mental health professionals, or it has an array of services as well. So this is an enhancement to the benefits that we provide to the employees. The next line that there was an increase of $300 was under postage. Again, it's just to account for the cost of postage that it has increased, and we have mandatory mailings that we send out twice a year to retirees and some to our active employees as well. And then the last line where there was an increase was on office supplies for $1,000. Again, it's to account for increase in costs, and we have a new shredding service that we are utilizing because of record retention laws. We have to maintain records for a long time, but as they come due for destruction, we have attained services of a professional shredding company that comes once a year. And if I don't have anything else, unless you have any specific questions about the budget for me.
Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Good evening, Tanya. Can you tell the board what vacant positions we are looking for at this particular point in time?
We have a number of vacancies. The majority of them are in Public Works. We have 2 director positions, the Economic Community Development Director, the DPLU Director. We have a couple of clerk positions in the Finance Department, one in the City Clerk's office. They're truck drivers.
Thank you. I don't have to go. Yeah.
I think in total, we may have about 25, 26.
The larger positions, such as community developer, where are we with that?
We've gone through the process of narrowing down the pool of applicants between qualified and not qualified, and we interviewed 6 candidates, who then the committee forwarded 2 to 3 candidates to the mayor, and he has interviewed those candidates, and we are also interviewing on Friday for the Director of Permitting and Land Use, and I think once we complete that interview process, we will be making a selection for both.
Thank you. Can you also tell me when a candidate applies for a job, a position, what is the strategy there? I mean, so we have a candidate A. They've applied for the position. Just walk me through the process at this particular point in time.
For what type of position? For a
Community development. Make it worthy.
So a non-represented position, we accept resumes, applications, we go through them, make a determination based on the information that was provided on the resumes, education, professional experience, so forth, narrow that down to what most closely meets the expectations and needs of the city, and then we convene a panel of subject matter experts, people that can support us in making a sound decision. We'll bring those candidates in for that first round of interviews. Then that committee or panel rather makes a recommendation to the mayor. Then they interview those finalists, or the mayor interviews those finalists, and then ultimately it's up to the mayor to make a selection.
When candidate A fills out an application and you get that application from candidate A, does candidate A know you've gotten that application and you're looking at it?
Currently, no. We just receive them. Eventually, we do send letters to everybody, letting them know whether they proceeded in the process and moved on to the next step or not.
So every candidate is communicated with some way in form?
Correct.
Okay. And so if they don't get the position, they're already informed if they didn't make that particular cut?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Human Services? Seeing none, thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. The next department on our agenda is the Health Department, page 79, Director Deepa Joseph.
Good evening.
Good evening, Deepa.
It's okay, I'm just going to approach to give you a handout. So, good evening, everyone. As many of you know, I always like to take this opportunity once a year to just give a little update on the Health Department and the Human Services Department and what has happened over the past fiscal year. And I typically like to use what you just received as to highlight the key points in each division. So as I go through this, I will also draw your attention to areas in the budget that are related to some of the information I will review. Just as key highlights, we'll start with the Environmental Health Division. This is our enforcement arm of the Health Department that really looks at enforcement and regulation of our various state and local ordinances and regulations. Over the past fiscal year, there were over 1,000 food service inspections conducted, and then we've outlined just kind of environmental health by the numbers in terms of various inspections that are conducted by our staff. I'll draw your attention to the bottom of that first page where we have some trends that have been identified, particularly in the area of troubled housing cases. Last fiscal year, we saw a 211% increase in those cases within the department, specific to troubled housing and hoarding. And so as that relates to the budget, we did make a request for a housing code enforcement officer based on what we are seeing has changed or is changing. That trend has kind of stuck over the past couple of years. And these are cases where at this point and continuing into this fiscal year, the health department gets called out most often at this point by first responders. So police department, fire department, when they go out on a call and they go to a home, if they see hoarding conditions, if they have trouble getting to a resident because of the conditions in the home, they will call the health department out to make an assessment of the conditions in the home. So we have been seeing a steady increase in those cases. We are also continuing to see an increase in our temporary events. So these are events that typically happen from beginning of spring all the way through the tree lighting, events that happen throughout the community that we permit and inspect. So that is environmental health. On the school health and public health nursing division, you will see that we have served really in our department our youngest residents from ages 4 months old all the way up to residents who were 105 the past year. With our clinics, vaccines, and then in the school nursing realm, our nurses have had over 40,000 health office visits at our schools. That includes administering medication, treatments, procedures, over 15,000 of those procedures. And then I also want to highlight kind of on the first third of the page, this past year, it's been a goal of mine for several years to be able to have the health department licensed as an outpatient clinic, and we were able to achieve that this past fiscal year by getting that licensing in place. That does enable us to be able to move forward with billing insurance for some of the services that we provide, and in particular our vaccinations and immunizations. So that was a real success that we had this past fiscal year. And then moving on to our community health division, I think the thing that I would like to really highlight are two areas. One is our grants management. So the health department has historically brought in a number of grants that enable us to run a lot of the programs that we have. So we had over $700,000 in grant funding this past fiscal year. And I'll just draw your attention to, as many of you have probably seen with the news and information that's out there, public health and human services is definitely taking a bit of a hit right now in terms of grant funding. So of that $704,000 that's listed there, 86% of that is federal funding. And we have seen in the past couple of months that we have already lost some of that funding. So there is a challenge there in terms of the grant funding that we do receive, and some concern as to what it may look like in the future based on what's happened in the past couple of months. And then under community health, public health accreditation, this is something that I have been really striving towards as well. Public health accreditation on a national level is basically sort of the good housekeeping seal of approval for health departments across the nation. That basically says that we are providing all of the core services we are supposed to. So we are in the process of that accreditation pathway. We started with what's called the Pathways Recognition Program. And sort of an update to this infographic is that we were able to achieve Pathways recognition just a few weeks ago. And so we'll continue forward with the full accreditation process, and hopefully next year, maybe by the time I'm sitting here, we'll be fully accredited. And then in our preparedness division, so we continue to have a Medical Reserve Corps of volunteers of Milford residents, of over about 175 residents that are stand ready and are trained to be able to respond in any type of emergency. We have utilized our volunteers this past year for some of the clinics that we have had, and we do a number of trainings, one which will be this week on Thursday night on shelter activation, and so we are really grateful to those volunteers that help us when we have a time of need. And then I will move on to human services. Just this past fiscal year, we were able to serve over 1,500 households in Milford, totaling over 3,000 individuals. This was in a number of areas, so the Department of Human Services provides emergency assistance to many residents within this community around the areas of rent and mortgage assistance, utility assistance, food, emergency food assistance, case management, financial counseling, et cetera. And so we continue to provide those services. If you look at the financial assistance provided, in total we have been able to provide about $67,000 in assistance. From Human Services, it's about $55,000. And again, that assistance is really through grant funds that come to the Department of Human Services. And then finally, our Youth and Family Services Division. This is really focused on around youth positive development programming throughout the community. Through that division, we were able to provide backpacks and back to school supplies for families in need, 224 of them. And then we honored over 450 youth in the community through the Mayor's Youth Award ceremony, and provide a variety of programs within the community in terms of education. So with that, looking at our health department budget, overall it has remained flat. The only request there was that housing inspector position, and I'm happy to take questions on that.
Mr. Chairman?
Alderman Willis.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman, to DEPA. Yes, that's very alarming with that funding that's being cut on the federal level. As you all know, we have Trump and the Republicans enabling him to do this, and that is a shame.
Point of order, Mr.
excuse
Chairman.
me,
Are
I'm
we going to
speaking.
inject federal politics into these meetings now? How about a reprimand on that one? Is that really pertinent to what we're going on with this department, Mr. Chairman?
Point of order, please,
Point
Mr.
of order,
Chairman.
indeed. Point of order.
For you, Alder Smith.
Alderman by charter.
Alder Smith.
Point of order.
All right.
Alderman Willis.
All right, Mr. Chairman, yes, I stand by what I said before. Okay, now the issue that I'm concerned about, and this is per the CDC website, April 17th, 2025. We have a measles outbreak in this country going on right now, and it is due to vaccine hesitancy, and it's 800 cases, and the vast majority of cases are children. It's 69% of the cases are children, and that is very alarming. We eradicated measles in 2000. They determined that it was eradicated, and now this is coming back. And these cuts and these irresponsible, non-scientific misinformation stuff that goes out on the internet that's causing this vaccine hesitancy. Do you see, since we have these cases now, most of them are in the Midwest, and I believe the vast majority are in Texas, do you foresee anything down the pike that we're going to have to, that's going to affect Milford, and we have to be on the lookout for it? Thank you.
So the measles outbreak is definitely a situation that we have been monitoring, and we continue to monitor. In Milford, our immunization rates are very good, and so we have over 95%, closer to 96% of our school population that are immunized, largely also relative to a couple of years ago. There was a regulation passed on the state level that removed the religious exemption, and so with that as well, we've seen our immunization rates improve across the state. That being said, as we've watched the situation, we have sent out notices to those individuals who may not be immunized or who are under-immunized, as just a reminder to be aware of the outbreak. And as spring break is this week, we wanted to make sure that if people were traveling, that they were aware of any outbreaks or things like that that might be going on, and encourage immunization.
Yes, I know from the federal government there's been a lot of cuts and layoffs in the CDC, and also a lot of important scientific research that's been taking place has been cut too. So these are concerns that we should all worry about. Again, we're not immune to it in Milford here. Thank you, Deepa, and I appreciate everything in your hard work and what you do for the city. Thank you.
Alderman Morenin.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair, through you to Director Joseph. First of all, just want to extend a congratulations on the achievements of becoming gaining the license for the outpatient and being able to bill for insurance purposes. I know that was a big undertaking, and I'm always impressed by your department on always doing more and striving for more, as well as the accreditation pathway. I know how hard all of you have worked as a real team, and it's always impressive to see the teamwork. My question is if you could elaborate more specifically how those federal funds have affected some of the positions within your department, as you also then look forward and put forward for the community, the housing coordinator. So can you just elaborate a little bit about that impact?
Sure. So far at this point, we have lost approximately $127,000 in grant funding for this current year that we have. In terms of positions that have been impacted by that, we've really had to look at the funds that we do have with other state grants and try to shift people around. We did have a regional grant where we had an opioid response coordinator that was working in the Milford, Orange, and West Haven area. That person did lose their position due to the grant cuts. And then we have had to shift our epidemiologist who is on staff, who will be ending our contract with that individual on June 30th due to these cuts. And we've had to kind of reevaluate how we're utilizing our community health nurse. That position is a part-time position, partially funded through the city budget. And so with the grant funding, we were able to do a little bit more with that community health nurse, such as homebound vaccines, things like that. So we've had to sort of shift and see if we can use state dollars to support some of those activities.
Alderman Archiola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Director Joseph. Hi. So I did want to actually just take a moment to compliment a member of your staff, Doug Mills from Youth Services. I've been working with him for a few years now, and he's been a consummate professional and a really wonderful and engaging person to work with, and so I wanted to congratulate you on that hire. And then I see the shoe vouchers made the pamphlet. I wanted to actually ask this to Doug, but I feel this is as good a time as any. Is the need higher than that, and if so, by how much?
That's a great question. Ideally, we would love to have a shoe voucher in every backpack that we give out. So, I mean, that's 224 backpacks that went out. We have mainly tried to focus the shoe vouchers we do work with our Camp Happiness population. So that's really where we've kind of targeted those vouchers towards those families who are in need. I anticipate on the Human Services and Youth and Family Services side, the needs are only going to increase. We are already seeing increased requests right now based on, again, in that department, we haven't received information yet about cuts, but our emergency food and shelter grant program is on hold right now, which is where we do our emergency rent and mortgage assistance, our food voucher assistance, and our utility assistance. So I anticipate the need will likely be greater, but it would be great to be able to have a shoe voucher in every backpack.
We can talk about that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions for the Health Department? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the director. I know you answered a little bit in Alderman Mulrennan's question about what you're doing now to combat a few cuts that you've experienced, but you said 86% of this $700,000 comes from federal funding, so that's as much as, I got $605,000 that could potentially be cut. Do you have like a broad contingency plan if that were to occur?
It's what what we've been working on and talking about for the past several weeks. I think we have had to prioritize some of the immediate cuts, that $127,000 that we faced right now. And that cut, I should say, there is a temporary restriction on it right now, so we'll see how that unfolds. So my priority has really been focusing on those cuts. I think I am grateful to this community in that the staff, the full-time staff positions are fully budgeted within the city budget, and thank you to this board, even our community health coordinator. That was something that came through the last budget cycle, so I'm really grateful for that because we will be able to maintain all of our city funded full-time staff positions. So the thing that we're thinking about is how to maintain some of those other activities. A lot of under the community health division, most of the work that happens under the community health division is grant funded. So health education programs in the community, we've just finished a senior series with the senior center and the library, our Narcan trainings in the community. Those things are all grant funded, and so we're going to have to see if there are other grant dollars out there that can help support things like that. And likely some of those critical functions that our epidemiologist does, which helps us look at trends and outbreaks and how we need to respond to different things. Likely, again, it's going to be looking for additional funding in terms of grant funding, and then probably redistributing work for some of the critical needs that have to get done.
Okay. And kind of in that same line of thinking, the housing inspector position, so without that position, is that something that other staff can take up, or is that just something that won't occur?
So this might be it could be a faulted line that I think the health department tries to get it done no matter what, especially in this sort of situation where it's not just a house that has some clutter. These are situations where sometimes we have to condemn the home because there is an imminent threat or danger to health and safety. And so we don't necessarily have the option to not do it. It's just going to be difficult. If this trend continues as it has for the past couple of years, I'm not quite sure how we're going to be able to respond in the way that we have. These cases are really, really complex and time-consuming. It's not as simple. I think sometimes we watch some of these shows on TV and think you go in, you clean it out, and you go back, they're back in their homes, and it's not that quick. It involves, we have a part-time case manager who works on connecting individuals with social services in order to be able to help them clean and maintain their properties. There's a lot of people involved. So, the Housing Code Enforcement Officer will enable us to be able to continue to respond, particularly as this trend continues. And we'll have to kind of see what other things might need to shift in order to continue that response, which is necessary.
Okay, so last question, kind of, again, along those same lines. In the health department, overtime, the budget's about $25,000. Can you just talk about what drives that overtime?
Overtime on the health department side is largely, so that those temporary events that I was talking about that increase, the percentages increase, that's our sanitarians who go out and inspect all the wonderful events that we have here, after hours, weekends,
Okay.
Oyster Festival, Food Fest, Irish Festival, fairs on the green, all of that. So it's largely due to that, and then also after hours emergency response for these, like the hoarding cases that I talked about.
Yep.
When we get called, the sanitarian goes out on those as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more questions for the Health Department? I don't see any. While you're sitting there, though, Deepa, we can handle the educational health services and human services. Might as well get both those at the same time.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
In terms of the educational health services budget, the biggest change that you'll see is in staffing. So we have had 2 dental hygienists that were part of the staff under educational health services or nursing. When the pandemic hit, we had to lay off those 2 dental hygienists due to the high-risk nature of their positions. And we hadn't been able to bring it back. And what we saw over the years was that we really didn't get any calls from anyone in the community as to when those services were coming back, if they were coming back. And so we decided to do a survey of Milford families, Milford Public Schools, and St. Mary's as well, to look at rural health needs within the community. We had over 900 respondents to our survey, and 99% of them responded that their child or children have regular access to dental care. And that was not the case. We did this survey, the same survey, probably maybe 15 to 17 years ago, and the numbers were not that high. And so based on that assessment of 99% of the families who responded having access to care, we decided to eliminate those positions. So that is the biggest change on the nursing side, and human services remained flat.
Does anyone have any questions pertaining to the educational health services and human services? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Good evening, Deepa. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on educational bonuses on the operational expenses, please?
Yes. Educational bonuses, that is a contractual obligation in the nurses' contract. So the nurses get an educational bonus based on the degree that they have.
The nomenclature just drives me crazy, bonuses, but maybe that could be changed to something else. Is it that way in the contract, educational bonuses?
That's the nomenclature.
Oh, really?
In the contract.
Oh, thank you.
Any more questions regarding Educational Health Services or the Human Services? Seeing none, thank you, Deepa. Thank you for answering all our questions, and thank you for the great job you're doing for the city of Milford. Next department on our agenda is Public Library. Page 35, Director Scott Brill. Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Just by way of introduction, since I don't know if all of you have met me yet, I am the relatively new Public Library Director. I started in May of last year, so my year is coming up, very exciting. It's been an honor to be the Library Director here in Milford. It really has. We have a wonderful staff there. I worked there years ago in the Children's Department for 5 years as a library assistant. So I know every crook and nanny of the library. It's really exciting. In the budget, you will see it's pretty flat. The only thing that's a little bit different is that we added a new line item, actually, called General Items. And basically, this is for something that we've launched called the Library of Things. It's things that are not books or not books on CD or that kind of stuff. We have a guitar, for example. We have a telescope that you can check out, those kind of things. And we want to expand this. And previously, it had been done by donations. And so when something broke, there was no money to fix it. We had to figure that out. So it's proper that it's part of the collection, and that's why it's in there. I had originally asked for $3,000, and $1,500 was what was granted by the mayor and by the finance department, which is fine. It's a great way to start. The other thing you might notice is electronic media. It's a growing thing in all libraries. We have 3 different forms that people can use. Hoopla, which is grown to be very popular already. We launched in February, and already people have discovered it and are using it, and it's really exciting. They can watch movies, stream all sorts of things at home for free. It's really quite exciting. And we have something called Canopy, which is a very similar thing, but it does a different thing. And then Overdrive, which is from the state, which I'll talk about in a few seconds. By way of all that, I'll echo Deepa and just give you some stats. I'm the president of FLAG, which is the Fairfield Library Administrators Group, and it's a group of 60 different library directors. And when I tell them that we had 12,000 people come through our door last month, this is like libraries like Ridgefield and West Haven. They were astonished because their numbers haven't really hit that yet. So it's really thrilling that last year, my stats tell me we had 117,879 visits to the library. And we're on track to beat that by 5 or 8% this year. That's extraordinary. That means we're past the pandemic. We are past all that. And that with our programming and with our collection, people are coming back to the library. And it's a really thrilling thing to see. And I know my staff feels it, and I feel it, that the library is that community hub that people adore and that people use. So it's again, an honor to be the director. Oh, and I'm sorry, I will talk about, as you probably heard, the state library's funding, speaking of that, it's $2.5 million that's being threatened to be cut completely, not just part of it, all of it. And if that goes, I just had a meeting this morning, it could mean what's called the deliverance service, which means that we can get books to every other library and other books can come to us. Could either be highly curtailed or eliminated altogether. That would be devastating to all libraries, not just Milford. But good to know that there are good people. We are part of a consortium, which you'll see on the budget. We pay about $18,000 a year to be part of a consortium. That consortium is working their tails off to have a backup plan in case that this does get cut. And so it was a scary meeting this morning, but it was also a happy meeting in the fact that there may be a contingency plan to try to get past that. It would severely limit all libraries and how they can relate to each other. Imagine we can't get a book to Shelton. I mean, how crazy is that? So it's been in existence since 1971, the system in Connecticut where we can give each other books in our libraries. And so to have that suddenly be gone could be really a frightening thing. But we librarians are resourceful, so we have our thinking caps on to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Alderman Archeola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the new director. Hi.
Hi.
I just had a quick question about the new general items line item. You mentioned musical instruments. That's very interesting, and I think that's a wonderful program that people who might otherwise not have the means or maybe want to test it out to see if they like it before committing. I think that's a very valuable resource. Now, I was wondering if you could tell me how many musical instruments the Milford Library currently.
Well, right now it was done through donations, so I believe there are 2 guitars, and that's what it is right now. So I'm working with a staff member who's kind of in charge of it to build it and have a better thing. We're thinking of things like metal detectors. We're a beach community. We should have metal detector at the library. I just was at Weston Library this morning. They have a metal detector that you can check out. And what's wonderful is we're not breaking new ground here. All these other libraries have already done all this, and so they've gone through the trial and error of it, and so we're benefiting from that. But yeah, hopefully there could be other musical instruments that we do, and we're going to put a feeler out into the community to see what things that people might be interested in having at the library as well. It's always a good thing to have a two-way street there and now.
Now, I know, thank you, and I just have a follow-up question. Now, I know that musical instruments in particular can be delicate and require maintenance, and I'm wondering if you are fielding any maybe volunteers from the community to help maintain or restore instruments to kind of keep those going.
We certainly would look into that. That could be something that absolutely could be done. Absolutely. I think what's great about the Library of Things and just the library in general is that outreach to the community in ways I didn't even think of that. So thank you for that. And absolutely, I think that could be a very valuable way to outreach to the community.
I think you, thank you very much. I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Well,
Appreciate
it. Thank you.
Any more questions for the library account? Alderman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director Brill. When you were talking about the perhaps loss of opportunity to get materials from Shelton or to Shelton or something along those lines, is that what kind of equivalates to the interlibrary loans?
Yes, that's an older term for it. It's called Deliver It is the system, and it's because we're part of a consortium. If we don't have the book or it's on, we can get it from another library usually within a day, and it's part of literally a car drives around the state. 2 of the people who are those drivers are directly funded by the federal money that comes to the state of Connecticut, and so that's why it could be curtailed.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think that my Milford library card, does that still allow me, I think at one time it did, to go to Stratford and pick something out from the Stratford library? Does that also allow each of the different libraries that are in that consortium?
I will say the spiel we say every day at the desk. Your public library card works in every public library in the state of Connecticut. But there are some libraries like Stratford, which is a standalone library. So you have to bring your actual library card with you, and they'll in their computer, and you're in their system. But yeah, your library card, your Milford library card, works in every public library in the entire state of Connecticut.
I thought so. Thank you.
It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Mr. Brill.
Hi, Scott.
Just in looking through the budget positions, I see that you had requested an additional library assistant, and I wonder if you could tell me what the needs or the justification was.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. I actually have a handout if we'd all like to see a handout if we're going to go here, and I will do that. The handout will show a couple of things. One, this would be a library assistant position, starting at the lowest level of the 24 grade. If you notice on page 36, where the position is added under the departmental request, it was listed wrongly at $51,948. It wouldn't be that. It would be $44,058 is actually what a library assistant starts at. And so There are many reasons for this. This position had existed a long time ago, well, not that long ago, but it was cut probably more than 10 years ago. Our departments on the floor usually have a department head and 2 library assistants, except for our reference department, which only has a department head and 1 library assistant. Guess which department gets the most requests and the most? It's that department. So it would be someone to be in that position on the floor. I've also talked about this at other meetings with city officials about the safety issue in the library. We're open to 8:30 at night, 3 nights a week, and sometimes it's difficult to make sure that we have enough staff in the library. Sometimes there are only 3 full-time people in the whole library. And we really I'm deeply concerned of my staff's safety. This position would help us by staffing, by having another library assistant that could work these shifts. It's also, as you see the second page there, or maybe it's the first page, compared to other libraries of similar sizes or similar, we don't have the staffing. Stratford Library, which is basically the same population, they have 27 full-time people. I'm not asking for that, but we have 15. And so it's hard to, make our hours with that. It can be very difficult. And it's hard, we don't really want to rely on part-time staff members to fill that void, because we don't, they're making $17.50 an hour without benefits. I don't think they should be responsible for the safety of the building. And so this is just an important position that hopefully we could get restored, and we believe in it. And it would be a library assistant. It would be someone who, just like all of our library assistants, could work in any department and really do the great work that we do at the library every day. Thank you for the question.
Any more questions regarding the Milford Library? I don't see any. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Next department on our agenda is the Borough of Woodmont, page 88. Excuse me. Warden Benessi.
Hi, how's everybody doing? I wanted to say something really quickly while Scott is still here. The Borough of Woodmont, I don't know if you know, we have the volunteer library, and we are going through about a $650,000 renovation. We're hoping, I was actually there over the weekend. It is absolutely phenomenal, the job that they're doing. Not one penny is Milford taxpayer funds. This is funds from the Borough of Woodmont and a benefactor whose whose wife used to run the library for us. And for those of you who don't know, on the board, it's been over 40 years, well over 40 years, that the City of Milford decided to close the Woodmont branch of the Milford Public Library, and the borough has been picking up the tab for well over 40 years, and it's a long time overdue. We are in the Fanny Beach building, which I think is 20 Dixon Street. I'm sure you're familiar with the facility. We've done a phenomenal job with it. We are going to be doing a grand opening, and everyone here is going to be invited we're going to do a soft opening, and then we're going to do a grand opening, and we want you all to see it because we're very proud of it. That's it, Scott. You can go now. I wanted to make sure you knew that.
I'm just thinking on board about Kate Alessi, who was just at our library talking to us about the literacy collection that we have.
Great, yeah, they're across the hallway. Okay, I think you guys know me. Most of you have been around for a while. I'm coming toward the end of the road. I got a couple of years left in me. But in full transparency, I screwed up this year. My BR1, when I was sending it in to Peter, I sent the BR1 from last year, not the BR1 from this year. So it looked like we did not need an increase. We needed an increase. I've already talked to the mayor and to Peter about it, and I understand, and the finance board said that it's not possible, but we were looking for about a $39,000 increase this year. We have not had an increase for, I believe it's 3 years, and we are experiencing the same increase in costs, the same increases that the city is dealing with and everyone else, especially post-COVID. It's getting to the point where it's going to be extremely difficult. Next year at this time, we will be, well, right now currently, for those of you who knows who the borough contractor is, we don't have any employees. We do everything with outside contractors, and we have been blessed to have a man that treats Woodmont like it's his own property. Jim Malico, we are in the last 18 months of his last contract, and so I am working diligently to hopefully have a seamless transition to another contractor to take care of the borough. And I know it's going to be a big increase. Jimmy does things when I renewed the last contract, as I had for the last few. I always bring it to Chris Saley, and Chris always, I'm not going to do a Chris Saley impersonation because he gets back to him that I do that. Chris looks at it and he says, now this is just for snow plowing, right? I said, no, Jim, this is for everything. All the public benches, the beach maintenance grading required to maintain the Category G beach that the city entered into an agreement with FEMA in 1992. Snow plowing, roads, intersections, sidewalks, snow removal, sanding, salting, street sweeping, drains, catch basins, drainage groin repair, paving, milling, patching, all street lights, tree trimming, minor debris cleanup. I put in an exception of declared disasters, Irene, Sandy, that sort of a thing. The borough insurance, I'm sorry, that's, we pay our own insurance on the borough property. Supplemental police coverage, we pay out of our own borough funds, which goes from Memorial Day to Labor Day. It helps augment the police budget by providing a man and a vehicle, or a person and a vehicle, I should say. And we actually had 1 year where there were 50 assists, which means that the borough car that the borough is paying for out of borough funds, not city funds, leaves the borough to make an assist somewhere else in the city. And those hours, those can be many hours sometimes. So we do provide that. I'm sort of mixing apples and oranges, and I really shouldn't. And then we do all of the grounds maintenance, all the public right-of-ways. We have 13 outflows to Long Island Sound, which we are responsible for. Anything that the city would do in terms of public works anywhere else in the city, we do it, and we do it, and we've been doing it now for $265,000. No employees. I get $1 a year out of borough funds, not city funds. And I'd be happy to answer. Well, we also, I'm sorry, the other thing that we provide is when we took over the Company 5 fire station back in 2012, the city decided that they wanted to keep the emergency communication tower on hand. The city doesn't pay anything for that. We maintain power to that, air conditioning, and supplementary power in the event of an outage. So Woodmont's a bargain, but it's going to start costing more really soon, or it is costing more really soon, and we're hoping that next year we'll be able to see an increase, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I have a question. Have you increased the borough tax at all for the residents of the borough?
Borough tax has been relatively flat, mainly because of the increase in the evaluation. The mill rate has remained fairly level. We've gone up slightly over the last 15 years.
And Archeola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Ed. That's actually, I just want to go back to, you had submitted a previous year's form in
By
error.
accident, yes.
So that's actually kind of an interesting scenario. So in that case, so the Board of Finance then voted using kind of incorrect submitted information.
I explained it to them.
Okay. Have they, in that case, do they do a revision, or do they vote again specifically just for your department?
I basically did my plea to them and explained to them, and it stayed at the 265.
Okay, so that's what they're recommending.
That's what they're recommending, yes.
Okay, all right.
But it was actually supposed to be 30. My request was supposed to be 304. It was very late. It was like, I believe, days before the finance board hearing. I travel for my day job well over 100 nights a year.
You don't have to explain.
And
that's
it
why
was just
pencils
a
have
screw-up
erasers.
on my
Yeah,
part.
no, I got it. Okay, but yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how the vote or the mayor's recommendation would have gone had that information been submitted. So that's interesting, and we'll have to discuss that, but that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Any more questions for the borough? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Evening again. Ed, what is the addition, what?
I'm sorry?
What is the additional assessment for the residents in Woodmont?
0.85 mils. It's roughly, it's about 135,000 a year.
Thank you.
And that pays for the police vehicle. It pays for the borough hall, which we now actually rent out the borough hall. The city, we have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts. They all use it for free. When they can't get into one of the other city properties, they will come to us. The superintendent has used it a couple of days a year, usually in September, for a retreat. I don't know if they did it this past year, but in the past, and that has all been gratis as well. We treat it as though, you know, it's a city facility. And we do other things. There are other things that we do to make Woodmont Woodmont, and that's my salary. Audits, the building, maintenance in the, you know, on the, in the borough hall itself, upgrades to that facility, that sort of a thing, so.
Any more question for the borough? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Vanessa, excuse me, Warden Vanessa. Have you ever done like an estimate or a calculation of what it might cost the city if Public Works were doing all of the things that the borough was doing?
No, but Chris Saley has.
He
And
has.
he said that my contract with Jim Malico, if the city was to take it over, he would only be able to cover snow plowing and not everything else that goes along with it.
Okay, thank you.
Because, and people over the years have said, oh, it's much easier, it'd be cheaper. We have no employees. We don't have pensions that we have to pay into. We don't have 401ks, we don't have any of that. We don't have contracts, so we're able to keep a lid on the expenses.
Okay, and when was the last time that the amount of the grant went up? Do you recall?
2 years ago, I believe, or this will be the third year that we're flat.
Okay.
I believe it's the third year that we'll be flat.
Okay, so prior to the last 3 years, did it just go up sporadically? I'm just trying to get a sense of the history of
The
when
cost,
yeah.
the cost of paving, the cost of labor. We have a new contract for the grounds maintenance company. Marin Brothers Construction is the name of the company. We had another company that we had for about 10 years, and so there was an increase there. Everything has gone up in increments, and this year was a year that we were hoping to be able to get a nominal increase.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for the borough? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Bill,
Warden.
Mr. Chairman. I appreciate how many years you guys have put in. You particular, you've been our representative in the borough for many, many years, and we appreciate everything that the board does. And I know I get paid a lot more money than you do.
Thank you. Thank you for answering our questions.
100%, that's right.
Have a good night, Ed.
Thank you.
The next department on our agenda is the Department of Permitting and Land Use. So Justin's not here, so we'll just go over that. All right, we'll go to the next one then, which is Transit District, page 89, Henry Jadak. Good evening, Henry.
Yeah, Department of Land Use crossed off my list, that's why I jumped up.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. My name's Henry Jadak. I'm the Executive Director of the Milford Transit District. We operate a fixed route service locally and a long haul fixed route service from Milford to Norwalk. Better? And an ADA service, van service, and an elderly van service. We also operate the parking program at the Milford Station and manage the westbound station. The other eastbound stations occupied by the Fine Arts. We're their landlord, and they owe us about $6 from rent, because they pay us $1 a year. So they're a little behind, which was a joke. That didn't go over well. We also initiated some new services. We're a year into a micro-transit service that operates evenings and weekends. It's been becoming very successful. Last month we did over 700 rides. We manage it. It's operated by M7 out of West Haven, where it was a competitive grant with the state of Connecticut, 2-year demonstration grant. So we're going into our second year, and hopefully see what happens after that. We can have it continue, because it's worked out very well for people that need it, those hours that we're not operating at now. It's filling a really nice gap. We've also put 2 35-foot electric buses into service recently after about a month of getting debugged. They're operating really well now. They're on the local routes in the morning, and everyone seems to really enjoy them. Right, they seem like they're going to work out well. So we're gearing up in the future. Milford Transit, along with the rest of the districts, will gradually become, at least so far, an electric fleet. The money we received from the city is very, very well appreciated. It's very important especially for cash flow, the way money comes into the district, and it also really helps us when we apply for federal and state funds, which is the bulk of the funds that we receive. So, is there any other questions? Any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer.
Alderman Willis.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. The federal funds that you receive, are they in danger too, like the rest of the departments that I've been hearing?
Right now, no, it doesn't appear that way. We have several open awards with the federal government that pay for mostly capital items, except for some CARES funds that are still available to us that can also be used for operating. Those are the funds, the CARES funds, the ARPA funds that awards we received. Those are the ones that I'm concerned about getting pulled back. Other than those, we have several other awards that are open that pay for preventative maintenance parts, pay to maintain the buildings, pay for vans, new vans when they're replaced, and pay for new buses when they're replaced, things of that nature. So basically, the federal funds are generally 80%, or in the ARPA and CARES categories, 100% federal, and it's the state puts the 20% in for, well, what's the 80% of those grants. Yeah, we're concerned about the funds that are remaining, because we were able to use that. We still sanitize all the vehicles every day. We still sanitize at the train station. We don't purchase any more PPE equipment because that phase is kind of over. But we're still sanitizing and still spending some funds for that and some other things.
Yeah, just another question about a different thing. The microtransit, I really, really like the idea of it. What is the average, the average wait time for somebody to get a ride? And does this, are they allowed to go out of the city with or is it just within Milford?
Right now, it's covering Milford. My intentions are for the next period the proposal is going to be to expand to Orange, West Haven, Stratford. There are other services, microtransit services in New Haven, in Greater New Haven, and one in the Valley. But in Milford, you could be on the post road and not know what town you're in. It's kind of amorphous. So parts of the city are, the people's habits. One side of the city is more orientated towards the Stratford, Bridgeport side, another side of the city is more orientated towards the New Haven side. So we'd like to be able to have those opportunities for the people in Milford to go out and then back, not to necessarily service those cities as an origin, but as a destination if they so choose or need it. So those are our intentions there.
Did you mention the average wait time? I don't know.
Average wait time, I'd say under 15 minutes, probably 80% of the time, and quite a bit of it is 5 to 10 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions for Milford District Transit? Seeing none, thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Thanks for the job you're doing for the city. Next item on our agenda is probate court. Page 26, Judge Ben Gettinger. Good evening, Judge.
Good evening, Chairman Vitro, members of the board. I'm Ben Gettinger, the probate judge for Milford and Orange, and we are looking for our traditional budget with an $829 increase. And if you want to talk about stamps, staples, I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions or discussions.
Anyone have any questions for the probate judge? You're dismissed.
The walk-up was longer than the presentation. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ben. Next item on our agenda is the golf course, page 112. Chairman Bill Healy. Good evening, Bill. I see you got Dan with you.
Correct. Just a couple things on the golf course. I'm the new chairman of the Golf Commission since the first of the year, replacing George Amato, who was the longtime chairman of the Golf Commission, who passed away last fall. The Golf Commission, or the golf course, the Orchards Golf Course, last year we had about 40,000 rounds played at the golf course, which was a new record up there at the golf course. And included in that rounds we provide practice rounds for the high schools to use up there. There was 140,000 rounds provided to the high schools at no charge. And at the end of the year, the high schools have a tournament among themselves, which the winning team gets the Mayor's Cup, which is which is a lot of fun every year. Our budget is, we are an enterprise fund, so all the funds that we generate are run the golf course. It's no city funds run the golf course whatsoever. We try to stay on top of maintenance up there, be proactive on a lot of things. For example, right now we're upgrading our security lighting system just as a safety feature. Many of the items up there that are done by the operator that we hire to run the golf course, we provide the material. For example, when they aerate the greens, we pay for the sand, but they provide the labor and the equipment to aerate those greens, spraying those walls. We provide the chemicals, but they provide the manpower, the labor, and the equipment to do all that work. So there is a slight increase in our budget this year. Again, like everybody else, the costs have gone up a little bit, but like I said, everything we generate up there is self-generated and goes right back into the golf course.
What's the lifespan of the maintenance contractor there?
Right now, it's a current 3-year contract, and we have 1 year remaining with the current operator. He's been with us 6 years now. He took over from the previous operator up there that was there for a number of years, but they decided to retire. So the current operator used to do consulting work for us. We went out to request for proposals, and he opted to commit and start running a course, and we've had no problems. He's been very well maintained. It's very well received up there, and it's a great operation.
Any questions for the golf course? I think the golf course looks great. I think you guys did a great job. And 40,000 rounds, that's a record, isn't it?
Like I said, that's like a new record. Maybe once a long time ago they might have done it, but it hasn't been that way. Since the pandemic, the rounds were down, but since then they've gone up, and not just in Milford, all the golf courses around. It's become a very popular sport. But the 40,000, we're pretty proud of that. Last year the weather was good. So far this year we've lost a little bit in the spring because of the cold weather and stuff. But last month alone we did 2,200 rounds for the month of March. So that's pretty impressive just for the weather and everything else.
That's excellent considering the weather we had. Any questions for the golf course? I don't see any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Next department on our agenda is the Finance Department, page 37. The Director, Peter Iridici. Good evening, Peter. You can stay where you are.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for allowing me to present the Finance Department for 2025-2026. I'll just make a few remarks about our department. As I've said in the past, our department is an integral part of city operations. We really are a very important partner with all of our city departments to ensure that financial issues are resolved, that we are partner with them in making sure they get what they need, the support that they need to continue to operate. And I'm very proud and honored, as I've said, to work with the group in my department, very dedicated municipal finance employees and professionals that are a pleasure to work with each day. We've made many accomplishments over the past year. Again, our audit report was issued on time, as it has always been, and that is no easy feat. It's a very difficult and intensive process year after year, and we're pleased that we got it out on time again and also received the Certificate of Excellence from the Government Finance Officers Association. Our city assessor division, department, if you will, they got the grand list out on time, and they're preparing now for revaluation for 10/1/25. As you know, the reval is done every 5 years, but the state adjusted the schedule this time around and moved us up by 1 year. So we're doing it 1 year early. And so in the budget, you'll see that there's a line item, the revaluation operations, that's there. That helps to fund this effort each year. And there is an increase of about $40,000, and that's related to the Milford Power pilot agreement, which has expired and which we are currently trying to renegotiate. And so there is an appraisal, a specific appraisal that's needed to be done for that as we enter into these negotiations. And we explain that to the Board of Finance, and we appreciate their support in providing the $40,000 increase to that account for that appraisal for Milford Power. I also want to commend the other divisions of finance. We have our city treasurer, payroll, tax, purchasing, accounting, and the assessor, as I mentioned. All these divisions work really well as a team and seamlessly among the various challenges that we face. One of the things I noticed this year is that the reporting requirements are becoming an ever more increasing burden on us. The state has again pushed more reporting onto our department, and they don't, to be frank, don't even ask if we have the resources to do it or if we have the staff to do it. They just say, here it is, and here are the forms, and this is the deadline, and it's up to us to get it done. I do appreciate the help from other departments that try to help us in getting the data, but I also want to commend my staff who do a good job helping me and helping our department make sure we meet those reporting deadlines. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board, again, has issued new pronouncements, and for the upcoming audit, we have another major pronouncement called GASB 101 that deals with reporting on compensated absences, and we've done it a certain way under a former pronouncement for many years, but now our accounting division and our city account in particular, she is working hard to make sure that we meet this requirement for the upcoming audit. So that's another challenge. So again, I thank my department, I thank this board and the Board of Finance for their support each and every year to ensure that our operations are funded. And I will now open it up to any questions that you may have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for the Finance Department? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the Finance Director. First, can you talk about the revaluation? Like when does that start, or has it already started?
As I said, the reval is every 5 years, but now we're doing it after 4 years. And it starts really approximately a year and a half to 2 years before the reval grand list year. So in the prior budget year, we fund the reval operations account accordingly. We had a slight increase last year to start that preliminary work on this upcoming reval for 10/1/25. And now that we are in calendar year 2025, the second phase, if you will, which is very intense, has already begun in earnest. And so, again, we are asking for funding in this account, and I'll repeat again that our assessor division, they start on this 2 years in advance with the preliminary work, and Marcus Eric, our assessor, he does a great job leading his team along with the deputy assessors and the supporting staff to do this primarily in-house, but we also get outside help as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one more question. In your budget, the postage for $65,000, is that mostly to mail out the tax bills?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Federico, it is not just the tax bills, it's actually the mail for the entire finance department. It includes accounts payable, so all the mail checks, payments issued to vendors is included. Any other mailings that are done by our divisions, including the assessor office, they have to do mailings. And so as you have seen in the news, the U.S. Postal Service has increased postage significantly over the years, so we anticipate this line item to go up in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more questions for the Finance Department? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Peter, you mean we have an unfunded mandate from the state?
Could you clear, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Vitale? Yeah, I would call the reporting I mentioned, that is a mandate that's unfunded. Yes, that's how I would characterize it.
Thank you, Governor Lamont. The other thing is that tax motor vehicle assessment, or tax that we had worked with not too long ago, about a month ago. Could you elaborate on what that would have made a difference in this whole scheme of things if it was passed?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Alderman Vitale, I do recall in our discussion that during that special meeting, if the motion or the proposal had passed, we would have been able to increase the motor vehicle grand list by approximately $50 million to help make up for the $67 million loss that occurred because of the adjustment that the state made prior to them offering this local option.
I unluckily was not here that night to vote on that, but the fact was, do you think that was communicated efficiently and well enough so everyone on the board could have understood it better? Or can you give me some insight on that? Because I wasn't here that night.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Alderman Vitale, I believe, and I think the board would agree too, I think everyone was paying attention, everyone heard, we all had a very good discussion about it. We heard differences of opinion, I respect that. But I tried to explain it simply as I just said. That proposal would have enabled the city assessor to go back and revise the grand list in time for this budget to recoup $50 million of the $67 million that was lost under the initial state revision of the depreciation schedule. And so that, as you can imagine, when the grand list goes up, that helps to lower the mill rate. So we talked about that, and if I can explain it further, I will, but thank you.
Thank you for your effort, and thank you for your service.
Any more questions for the Finance Department. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Peter Aradisi. So, Peter, the city of Milford lost $67 million of motor vehicle taxable revenue. The state took it away from us entirely. And we had an opportunity to replace it with $50 million. My question to you, Peter, is what would that have put back into our overall grand list in this budget cycle, which would have essentially lowered the mill rate by how much?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the board and to the mayor, just to review, I believe that I had to explain that it would have, in estimation, helped to lower the mill rate by about 0.20. And so that amount in the mill rate, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, represents about a little, like approximately 1.2 to 1.4 million in revenue, tax revenue.
Just to follow up, Mr. Chairman, and that would have lowered not only the motor vehicle tax because the mill rate would be lower, but also the property tax for all of our people that live here in Milford that pay property taxes. Is that right, Mr. Aradisi? Am I correct when I make that statement?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, I would agree with that statement.
Well, with no more questions for the Finance Department, I want to thank you, Peter, for the excellent award you got. You get it every year. We're very, very fortunate to have you for our Finance Director, and you're very fortunate to have you at every meeting because I know how many hundreds of questions you get asked, and you answer them very, very well. Thank you again for the work you do for the city. No more questions. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, Milford Arts Council. Page 87, Executive Director is Paige Miglio.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to start by saying thank you all for your service. Thank you all for your continued support of the Milford Arts Council. As I always start out by saying, whenever I am anywhere in our districts and at the state level with other executive directors and other arts organizations, I always applaud the fact that the city of Milford has long supported the arts and has been a supporter and champion of this council since its inception through a survey to the people from the mayor's office back in 1971. In retrospect to my landlord, Henry, who was just here, we will be celebrating 30 years this coming September inside the eastbound train station as our home, the MAC. So we will be having a little celebration sometime in August, and Henry will get a nice big fat envelope of single dollar bills. You have in front of you our schedule for this season coming to a close, our upcoming fundraiser on May 1st, our membership and volunteer opportunities, because I do get a lot of questions about membership, and flyers for all of the remaining events through the month of August that we have still to produce for the city of Milford. We have asked for and granted by the mayor and the finance department an additional $15,000, making our grant for 90 from the city of Milford, and we are here thankful for that assessment of our needs and the grant increase. So if there's any questions that you have over anything that we do, present, et cetera, I'm here to answer your questions.
Any questions for the Milford Arts Council? Alderman Willis.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I just have a comment for Paige. I had the pleasure a couple months ago, Pride Month, to go see the Transjoy Art Fair at the Firehouse Gallery. There we go. It was excellent. Some of the art was very, very striking, and I hope they have one next year. My family had a good time going there, and it was a nice event. They had some snacks and stuff, and so thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, in kind of retrospect to that exhibit, we host 4 exhibits hosted by the Milford Arts Council every single year at the Firehouse Gallery. We also do 3 hosted MAC exhibits at the eastbound train station, the MAC, as well as 2 opportunities for traveling shows or unusual and special exhibits. We allow our schedule at the Firehouse Gallery to welcome other organizations and groups to use the arts to further their mission and their connection to the community. So while the trans show was superb and wonderfully attended, and everybody felt very moved by the experience and the opportunity to exhibit, that was not a MAC hosted event, but we support other organizations and other groups and allow their mission to drive how they utilize the arts to bring voice to their needs and their missions.
Any more questions for the Milford Arts Council? Alderman Archeolo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Paige. It's not really a question, just more of a comment. I think you've always been a consummate professional and a steward of the arts, and I want to thank you for your continued service. I hear very good things about your good man, Charlie Brown, and so I'll be in attendance for that, and thank you very much.
Thank you. So Eastbound Theater, who is our community group, theater group, they are celebrating their 30th season. So Your Good Man Charlie Brown will be their first production of a musical on our stage and as their group. So we're looking forward to that. What else I can point about that? But no, I mean, we have been really continually moving and growing. I think one of the reasons why we wanted more money was we needed to expand our staff, which we were able to do through a grant through the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven over the course of 2 years, and that grant ended last year. So the raise in $15,000 will supplant the $20,000 grant that we'd received to increase staff, which has been extremely helpful for us. We also revamped our budget and pulled out all of our revenues and expenses completely separately. Each of the event up until this past year had been run revenue and expenses within each program. So a budget, instead of running this way, was going like this. So we separated the money and realized that when I started, we had a working budget of about $180,000. Our working budget now, in realistic terms and with the growth that we have had, is now about $480,000. And that is only with an increase of 1 20-hour-a-week staff person. So.
Any more questions for the Milford Arts Council? I don't see any. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
For the great work you do for the city and for the residents.
Thank you.
The last department on our agenda this evening is the Council on Aging. Page 87, Executive Director Lenora Rodriguez. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Yes, Chairman Vitro, members of the Board of Aldermen, Mayor Giastasio, Peter, how are you? My name is Leonora Rodriguez. I am the Executive Director of the Milford Senior Center. And in front of you, I have provided you a membership. Some of you currently have membership. Thank you, Alderman Bevan. And some of you will not be eligible until 2045. Yes. Some of you are eligible now, but are not members. Behind it, you will see a lot of the activities, programs, events, and things you can get for your membership. Membership to the Milford Senior Center is $25 a year. It was increased earlier, late last year, from $15 to $25. So, we are asking for an increase. The increase is $230,000. This is a huge increase. We have been flat for at least 12 years. In my calculations, if over the last 12 years, $20,000 would have been brought up into our budget, we would not be asking for $230,000. The majority of that is really from the cost of insurance, the cost of employing our staff. State of Connecticut has increased wages several times in the last couple of years. Maintenance, repairs, aging vehicles, the cost of food, lots of these things. Just in general, membership growth. Milford is home to approximately 9,990 individuals 65 plus. Our membership starts at 55. When we include the folks living here between the ages of 55 to 64, that would be in another, give or take, 8,500 people. But right now, we serve approximately 20% of this town of 65 plus. Our membership has about 2,300 members and clients. We offer various comprehensive programs, creativity, engagement, cognitive focused programs. We operate for 47 hours weekly. This is more than 10 hours from any other senior center in Connecticut. Most senior centers operate maybe 35 hours if they have a decent staff. Some of the smaller ones may only operate 20 to 30 hours weekly. We operate Sunday through Friday. Some of the activity highlights in the past year, we offered over 2,300 daily activities, 51 travel events, 136 special events. We even had a couple new classes that started. We had a line dance that lots of people wanted. We have an improv class, Zumba Gold that's come back to us, retro moves, just ways that our community can remain active. We have a strong membership attendance. Last year, we saw 51,233 in attendance. This was supported by approximately 32 staff members and volunteers. We have just about under 80 volunteers that have committed over 9,000 hours to the organization. Transportation, we offer transportation to and from our senior center, to groceries, to medical appointments. We're expanding those as well. It is a request from the membership to provide additional opportunities for transportation and also for travel. We've seen a 30% increase in our ridership. We traveled 35,739 miles last year. Our Meals on Wheels program, we delivered over 2,300 meals. This is a almost 23% increase from the year prior. Our membership of those needing Meals on Wheels has grown. We have seen it from just around the time of COVID, a little before, about 40 individuals served, to the fact that we have 100 individuals plus a waiting list. This is showing that our community members are aging in place. They're staying in our communities, and they need our support. The food bank, Milford Food Bank is housed right there at the 9 Jepson Drive, right where the senior center. And it may have started for older adults, but we see it being utilized by everyone, families. Our families in our communities are using it. We have individuals who may be unhoused, they're using it. We have people from other communities that maybe those communities don't have the additional support we have, they're using it. We're seeing over 225 families come through our doors. We recently had a very successful social media drive where the community thankfully joined us and was able to bring in over 4,000 pounds of food. Our mini lunch program, we served 28,481 meals. 81 meals, we counted each and every one of them. It's a 36.5% increase from the year prior. We did increase the cost of our lunches from a whopping $3 to a whopping $4. And we are very gentle in when we make movements that might affect our community members that really use this for support. For yourself, go to Starbucks, you're spending $6 on a grande. But we're talking about a whole meal that someone who doesn't have that ability at home but can come to us or might be able to bring it home to share with another family member. They're doing that and we are supporting that. We offer our own home-cooked meals. It's also something that other senior centers are not able to do. And I'd like to mention we're also one of 8 nonprofit senior centers in the state of Connecticut. Most of them are under the municipality. What's beautiful about this nonprofit senior center is that, as I like to say, we don't necessarily have red tape, we have pink tape. And in that pink tape is my board of directors, and they're wonderful volunteers, pillars of the community like yourselves that are in support of the seniors. So financially, you're gonna say $230,000, that's quite a bit. I'd like to say thank you, Mayor Giastasio, for initiating the part of it, which is approximately $39,001. Thank you. And it's the first time we've seen an increase, and it does show that the mayor understands there is a need for this increase. We will get to where we need to be. I am the grant writer additionally for the organization, so I am constantly going out for grants. I have an Area Agency on Aging South Central Connecticut grant for the Aaron's Respite Program that serves currently 30 participants who are living with cognitive impairments due to Alzheimer's or dementia. I also have a grant through the Connecticut DOT that just materialized. I'm very excited about it for a new 20-passenger bus. This will be able to increase our transportation abilities and also wherever we decide to go for fun. However, there is a cost share that the senior center will have to provide, which is just under $30,000. We've been growing. We've been trying to just keep up with the times and modernize this center. Because as you see in your membership cards, which they are all live, you can actually go to the senior center and check yourself in. You are going to be the ones utilizing the center. The center is for us, all of us. Anyone who plans to get older in this community, the senior center is here for you. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Alderman Bevan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the director. Could you explain a little more about your errands program?
Sure. So the Aaron's Respite Program is a program for individuals, as I mentioned, who are living with cognitive impairments due to a dementia or Alzheimer's. It's a 5-days-a-week program that runs from 9 to 1:30. The individuals that attend are engaging in social activities. They're gaining friendships. They're not just home, not being able to be supported in their community. They receive evidence-based therapies such as art, music, and pet therapies, which is all supported by the grant. But more than anything, their family members, their caregivers, those who are supporting them at home 24/7, they get a little chance for themselves to breathe. They really, really need this type of program to be able to just take care of themselves just for a few hours every day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Archeola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Lenora. I love this. I think this is a really wonderful gesture. And this is active?
Yes, it is. Yours will be active in 2030 something, I think.
2045, thank you very much.
2045. Oh, you're 2045.
And if I put this in a vault somewhere,
Yes.
and I whip it out and I come there when I'm 55 years old, is it going to work?
Only if you help increase the budget.
All right.
Yes, it will. It actually is active right
You drive
now.
a hard bargain. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any more questions for the Council on Aging? Yes, Alderman Willis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Lenora. Thank you for your presentation. I understand that there's going to be somewhere in the range of $420 million from federal cuts to food banks all around the country. Again, that's the USDA grant. Do you see that being problematic for us?
Yes, of course. There's always a possibility that that will affect our food bank. We have a very giving community, but the community themselves need this food as well. We're seeing that families throughout Connecticut, even those who are two-income families, making almost six figures, to be honest, are struggling and are utilizing the food banks. We utilize Food Share, which has the cuts, as you mentioned, here in Connecticut. We utilize them to be able to get produce that is at a more affordable price than going to your Stop and Shop. If we don't have that access, then we do have to rely on other sources, such as your local grocery store, ShopRite, Aldi's, Adams, and things like that. So it'll eventually be much more difficult to manage that program. But I don't want to be kind of like a dark cloud kind of scenario. We're always going to do our very best to feed people. We're never going to stop that.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for the Council on Aging? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the director. So you've made the pitch for additional funds, and like many other folks that we've talked to tonight, you also talk about how you make do with what you have. So can you give us some examples of what would happen if you don't get the additional funds? What might go undone?
Well, one of the first things I would look at would be reducing hours potentially. We've already done several things. Let me start by saying I've already looked at just trimming out employee hours. I've streamlined a lot of the employees' hours by creating a system where it's 15, 20, 25, 30 hours. So there's no in-between type of things. I'm trying to ensure that every position is, I don't want to say valuable or necessary, because they really are. I have the best group of people with the biggest hearts. But just to ensure that each position is validated. I want to say that when it comes to the others, what they may mean is a reduction in the offerings that we have. We expanded the food bank, for example, hours. They originally were, I want to say, 20 hour, and we increased it to 25. So that means that we're able to meet a little bit more demand of the community. So instead of from Monday to Thursday, went to Monday to Friday, I would have to look at reducing that back. Unfortunately. Meals on Wheels, right now I have a wait list of approximately 18 to 20 people. My plan is to grow that, but if I can't, I have to look at reducing the amount of people who are medically frail and homebound looking for food, and I would have to turn them away because we wouldn't be able to do capacity building. When it comes to the programs people like, the wellness programs, the fitness programs that people like, I would have to reduce those out. And right now there's a high demand for it, and they should be demanding. We want our older adults in our community to be healthy. We want them to be able to have that access to fitness so that they can live stronger and better in our communities.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have any more questions for Council on Aging? I don't see any more. Thank you, Lenore.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for answering all of our questions.
Thank you, and good night.
I will entertain a motion to recess until Wednesday, April 23rd at 7 o'clock. We have a...
I have a question before we recess, if that's possible.
What's your question?
We started off the meeting by having a reprimand for one of the aldermen, and I don't want to get involved whether it's justified or not. I just need a clarification on the process. How does that happen? Is it at your sole discretion that you can reprimand and put that into meeting minutes, or does it come before the board? I'm not going to, get into whether it was justified or not. I just need to know the process.
And so what was your initial question?
My initial question is, or my question is what is the process if something happens, whatever it might be, an alderman, someone feels is out of line, what is the process that we got to a formal reprimand?
Well, as you know, I'm the chairman of the board, so I am in charge of keeping the decorum of the meeting. So whenever there's a problem in the meeting, I have to handle it in any way that I feel necessary.
Okay, so basically it's at your discretion
Correct.
as to whether you want to
Correct.
reprimand someone.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to recess until Wednesday, April 23rd at 7 o'clock. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are in recess. Thank you, everyone.